Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into group dynamics, but maybe not how you'd expect. We found this source that uses, well, wait for it, an animal farm.
An animal farm. Seriously.
Correct. It breaks down behaviors using sheep, goats, and cows. It's actually surprisingly insightful, maybe a bit funny too.
Right. And our mission here, you could say, is to unpack this source, understand how these different, well, personalities interact.
And what keeps things stable,
Yeah.
or non-stable.
Exactly. And the source really zeroes in on feedback loops. That's key.
Okay, let's meet the players from this farm analysis. First, the sheep.
The sheep.
The source makes them sound pretty simple followers.
Yeah, not much critical thinking there. They just sort of accept what they're told.
And follow either the goats or the cows. Pretty straightforward, right?
Pretty much. But then, here come the goats.
Things get livelier, you said.
Definitely. According to the source, these characters are, well, deeply deluded. Think they know a lot, actually know very little.
Talk a lot, say nothing.
That's the picture. And they hate being challenged. Absolutely hate it. Jump subjects like crazy.
Why? What drives them?
Validation. The source highlights this need for recognition, especially from the sheep, which also explains why they really don't like the cows.
Cows pop their bubble.
You got it. Okay, so then the cows,
How are they described?
skeptical, good critical thinking skills. They understand cognitive biases, those mental shortcuts.
Right, the ones that lead us astray.
Exactly. They try to point them out. Unlike goats, they don't need recognition. They sort of earn it through competence, their size, the source says.
And they articulate well. And don't like the goats.
Find them grating, yeah. And their tool isn't shouting, it's Socratic logic, asking those probing questions.
To expose the fluff.
Basically, yeah. So you've got sheep following, goats needing validation and clashing, and cows challenging, maybe teaching.
Okay, so the source talks about needing a stable balance on this farm. How does that work? What keeps it stable?
Right, this is where it gets really interesting. It talks about negative feedback loops.
Like a thermostat, things get too hot, it cools down.
Exactly that kind of idea. A change triggers a response that corrects the change, pushes back towards, like, equilibrium.
Okay, so on the farm example.
The cow challenging the goat. That's a prime example from the source. The goat's rambling, the delusion that's a drift away from stability.
And the cow's questions.
That's a negative feedback. It pushes back. It provides a check, stops the goat's influence just running wild.
It's the system correcting itself.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the source suggests maybe the sheep see this happen and it influences who they follow. Another correction.
But what if that correction, that negative feedback, is missing or too weak?
Well, that's where the danger comes in, according to the source. Unbalance. Too many goats, not enough cows. Maybe the sheep only listen to goats.
Then what?
Then you risk getting a positive feedback loop.
The opposite of the thermostat. Things get hotter, and it just keeps getting hotter.
Exactly, like that awful microphone screech. The change amplifies itself, pushing the system further and further out of whack.
So on the farm.
If goats aren't challenged, no negative feedback, they get more attention from the sheep. That attention fuels the goat's delusion, makes them seem more dominant.
And that spirals.
It spirals. This amplification, with no critical thinking check, leads to what the source calls the destruction of the healthy group dynamic. Noise wins.
So stability really depends on that challenge, on the cows acting as a brake.
That negative feedback is crucial, yes. That's the core argument from the source.
Okay, stepping back from the barnyard humor for a second, how does this connect to you, to everyday life?
Well, think about it. Online debates, team meetings, even just deciding what news to trust. You see these patterns everywhere, don't you?
So recognizing the goat demanding attention, the sheep maybe following blindly, the cow asking tough questions.
It gives you a lens. It helps you see if a conversation is stable, with good pushback, negative feedback, or if it's spiraling into noise because of that positive feedback loop, amplifying, say, misinformation.
So you can spot when maybe you need more cow perspectives.
Exactly. Find those critical counterpoints.
So the big takeaway from this source seems to be that any healthy group needs enough cows providing that check, that negative feedback.
And it needs the sheep to think carefully about who they're actually listening to.
Which leaves a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over based on this source.
Yeah, what kinds of feedback loops, positive, negative, do you notice in the groups you're in? And thinking about these farm characters, sheep, goat, cow, whose behavior stands out the most in those dynamics you see.